immediately met the backfield, runs through the contact, and then throws a shoulder for good measure.
Revenge on this team this year. That is true. High in the air. Right center field. Brandon Compton. Welcome to 2025.
Edwards pulls off and buries it. Richardson drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money.
Takes his shot for Derby. Flag out. Doesn't matter. Touchdown.
What is up, my Pitchfork Lunch peeps? Happy Monday to you all. well. Again, thanks for jumping in. It was a phenomenally busy weekend in Sun Devil Nation. Absolutely awesome. Give me no hat, you know, if you did the hair for you. Apologies about that. Little echo, but that's all right. We got it down. Anyway, yeah, no hat today. But yes, I am so stoked that you guys are here. But yes, it is Monday's edition of Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Caratino at Diablo005_ on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. Yes, you know it. You love it. You can check out the show live there every day, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. You can also go to the phenomenally wonderful world of Instagram. I make it very easy for you guys. You can go to you can go to the wonderful world of IG and check it out there as well. Yes, it is Michael.Caratinudo.5. Very, very easy. Just add a dot between the first and last name and a .5 at the end. And last but not least, as you guys know, go to the YouTube channel. Watch live. But guys, do subscribe. This week is going to be absolutely awesome. We are kicking it off today. Sun Devil defensive line coach Diron Reynolds is going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. But yes, we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, spring ball. We can't talk about recruits by name, but spring ball is all good. So he will be joining us shortly. Also, again, you're going to want that. But this is a week of crazy interviews. We're efforting. Paulie Nellis, you remember our phenomenal goalie from women's soccer? Bumped into her at women's tennis, which was awesome this weekend. I'll get to that, but again, I'm going to try and catch up with her tomorrow. And then Friday, we will be out at golf, women's golf, as they get set for, the Stanford Regional and all that. But they have finals this week. But I ran into Missy Farr, Coach K, who is just phenomenal. Always love catching up with her. Also saw her at women's tennis. Again, coaches supporting coaches. We hear this from a lot of them. Coach Van Neal was out there. Coach Molly Miller was out there. Coach Dillingham was out there. All that good stuff. So, yes. But Friday we'll be out at golf talking to the girls. So, yes, that will be an awesome, awesome show. But you want to watch live on YouTube, but you need to subscribe because you haven't missed those yet, but you haven't missed a plethora of phenomenal con reviews. So, all I have to do is go to YouTube, and you guys know how to get there. Oh, yes, like I said, you missed a plethora of phenomenal con reviews, whether it be coaches, players, voices, insiders, analysts, alum. It is all there for you. And, again, to the Pitchfork Lunchers that are here, forks up. I'm glad you're here. For the newbies, forks up to you as well. I'm glad you're here. We know what I'm going to say. Well, the vets know what I'm going to say. Shame on you. Where have you been? Because, like I said, you have missed a ton. And when I say missed a ton, you need to go binge watch season 1, keep watching season 3, binge watch season 2, keep watching season 3, and then when season 4 starts in the fall, you'll be all caught up. So we have con reviews. We've had Coach Reynolds on before. Yeah, we'll talk about some similar things, but again, a lot going on. So that being said, go to YouTube. You know how to get there. See my name, Michael Caratino. My page is at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Champ, 005, at MVC005 on YouTube, and subscribe. So get there. But before Coach jumps on, my friends, was it an awesome weekend in for ASU football? Obviously, ASU football, there was a $10 million gift to endow the football coach's position. Absolutely awesome. We'll get to that. But sports-wise, I mean, tennis, look, the women, they hosted regionals. They won. They beat Denver handily, and then they took on UCLA, old Pac-10, Pac-12 foe, and lost 4-3. Went down to the very last match, last point. Absolutely insane. So we'll get to that. Coach Jackson, we're aiming to have her on Wednesday. So yes, it's huge. But like I was saying, for baseball this weekend, they went to Orlando. They had to finish. They started a game on Friday, had to finish it on Saturday. They started a game on Saturday, had to finish it on Sunday. But the Devils won Friday. They won the series. Another series win. Have only dropped one Big 12 series, so they go 2-1. Phenomenal. But they win 9-4 on Friday. Saturday to Sunday, they lose. Well, the Saturday game, they end up losing 4-2. But they turn around, play 2 yesterday, and beat UCF 6-3, take the series. Now, I told you Pitchfork Lunchers the other day, or on Friday, that they were headed to Missouri. That game already got canceled due to inclement weather. They canceled it yesterday, so they just came back home from UCF. And now they have Oklahoma State this weekend, as the Cowboys will be here Friday and Saturday. Those games on ESPN2, Sundays on ESPN+. But going 2-1 again, check this out. They are now 33-15, my friends. Overall, 16-8 in conference. Phenomenal. And they've won one in a row, 22-7 at home, but now 10-5 on the road from those two huge road victories. So forks up to Coach Bloomquist in baseball. On the women's side for softball, they went to take on BYU in Provo, and we know they won Thursday because we talked about it Friday. Yes, because it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But they swept BYU, which they needed to do wholeheartedly. We'll get into that a little bit later, too. But they won 9-4 on Friday. Absolutely awesome. Dominated on Saturday, or Thursday, won 9-4 on Thursday. Dominated 10-2 on Friday evening. And then Saturday morning, they dominated again 11-3 to just absolutely work at BYU. So now they will take on Arizona. That is their reward in the Big 12 championship, who, again, they dropped 2 or 3 from, but again, whooped their butt in that first game. They know they can go toe-to-toe with them. So now they get to take on Arizona in Stillwater in Oklahoma. So that, my friends, in and of itself, very, very, very awesome. So stoked for them. Like I said, women's tennis fell to UCLA 4-3, but man, so stoked for Coach Jackson. What this young team did again, Big 12 Player of the Year, Newcomer of the Year, first and second teamers, all Big 12, double singles and doubles. So I mean, again, absolutely phenomenal. What they were able to do, and when we look at the men were in San Diego too, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, 20-6 overall. Coach Jackson, again, winning 20 games this year. But they, I mean, this is a team that beat Texas Tech not once but twice, 4-1. Well, they played them twice, beat them 4-1, and then lost 4-3 in the Big 12 championship, but not having their top player. But yeah, they beat Denver 4-0, and then, like I said, lost to UCLA 4-3. But man, and I have some highlights of this. We'll probably see it in a little bit. But you look at Amelia Variante, the Big 12 Player of the Year. Man, she dominated in singles against Denver and against UCLA, but 6-2, 6-1. And then, yeah, it came down to that last side. Lily Taylor had a phenomenal match, by the way, real quick, guys. She defeated Bianca Fernandez of UCLA. It was 7-6 in the first set, but she took the tiebreaker 9-7, right? And then she won 6-3 in the second set. But yeah, the Devils won Variante's match on court 1. They dropped court 2, but they won court 3 and court 4, and then dropped court 5 and 6. So yeah, again, it was 4-3. Absolutely. And then on court 5 between Aya Nukbe and Olivia Center. Oh my God, it was 6-4. On court 6. Sorry, between Amani Gouchard and Zaida Barantus, 7-5. It was 7-5, 3-6, and then 6-4. And I mean, she almost had it, guys. But yeah, we'll get to that. But again, so stoked for Coach Jackson. This again, a young team, postseason again, got to host again. It's been a minute, but hosting. Coach McInerney was out there as well too. I didn't get to talk to her, but again, she was out there. So that in and of itself, awesome, my friends. But yeah, fell 4-3 to UCLA. It was number 18. The Devils were number 16. So But yeah, can't wait to catch up with efforting to catch up with Coach Jackson again. Should be Wednesday. And then track and field, they were down in Tucson. I know you guys, I reminded you of that profusely. But men's tennis for Coach Harris, they on Friday they got to take on UCLA again. Both teams have fallen to UCLA, but they lost 4-0 at USD. USD was hosting, but UCLA came down the freeway. And again, not obviously too far of a trip for ASU either. Yeah, so that in and of itself, my pitchfork lunchers. But yeah, they lost 4-0 to UCLA, and that ended their season. But man, again, both 17-11 overall, 4-4 in the Big 12. Unfortunately, they dropped their last three, but 5-3 at home, 5-4 away, 7-4 neutral site this year. A few players, we'll get into it, who's gone, who's coming back. But yeah, Coach Harris did such a phenomenal job of just recruiting and to keep things going. But yeah, this is a team that beat USD earlier in the season. They beat number 10 USD. So that, my friends, in and of itself, you look at that, they played. They beat USD 4-2. They beat Princeton 4-3. But yeah, they beat USD actually twice, 4-2 and 4-3, a week apart. They did fall to number 25 Pepperdine. Stanford, they took on who was number 4, the men, but it was 4-3. I know we talked about that earlier. And then they beat 16th ranked Clemson 4-3. They swept 51st ranked Liberty. They unfortunately got swept by that team down south 4-0. Then they lost to Pepperdine the second time, 4-3 though. And then they beat number 54 Memphis, and then they fell to obviously number 2 TCU, number 8 Baylor, beat Utah, fell to that school down south again, beat Texas Tech, and then beat number 38 Oklahoma State, and then beat obviously BYU 72, beat them, lost to number 15 UCF. I was there for the end of that, 4-3. I told you guys about that. So, but just a heck of a year for men's tennis as well. And like I said, softball gets the sweep. So, hey, we're going to step aside when we get back. Hopefully, we should be linking up with Coach Reynolds. So that should be shortly. But we will step aside and have more Pitchfork Lunch again, talking tennis, talking softball, sweep, baseball, swept UCF, softball, swept BYU. You know what? Before we do go to break, though, I do want to the final standings in softball. In the Big 12, that's why I can tell you why they're taking on Arizona, because, ASU jumped Baylor and jumped Utah. So they finished 6th. Arizona finished 3rd. Oklahoma State finished 16th as well, but jumped them. So did Utah get swept? Did Utah get swept by Arizona? Oh, no, Utah took 2 of 3. So Arizona only took 1. But ASU was able to leapfrog Utah. They had 11 wins. So they were 10-13-1. And ASU is 11-13. So they're just percentage points ahead of them in the Big 12. But, for ASU to get that sweep and finish 38-16 overall, and then in the Big 12 tournament, like I said, they're headed there. Texas Tech, again, we already know they won. They took 2 of 3 from Baylor, so Baylor finished 10-14. So they inevitably helped ASU jump. So, they will take on Arizona first in the Big 12 tournament. We'll get to that, but the Devils finished 11-13 in conference play. Again, close to 500. Don't want to be below, but hold that thought before you start complaining. Not that you do, Pitchfork Lunchers, I know. But, 11-13 in conference. They were 3-9 at home in conference, which is tough. but they were 8-4 away. So again, like that's one of those. I can't wait to ask Coach Bartlett about that one because again, you want to be good on the road, and it's one of those things. But 8-4 on the road, and they've won 3 Big 12 games in a row. Obviously, the last 3, but 38-16. Like I said, overall, tied for the second most amount of wins. I mean, Texas Tech was 50 wins, 5 losses overall, and then you had the UCF was 38-15-1. The Devils were 38-16. But yeah, tied for second most overall wins in the Big 12. 38-16. They were 23-12 at home. Gotta love that overall. 13-4 away. Definitely love that. And then 2-0 neutral site. And yes, they have won 3 in a row overall. So yeah, stoked for Coach Bartlett. Stoked for this team. But those are the final standings there. So that's why they're playing Arizona. But we talked about it. I put it out in the universe, and they did sweep and they did leapfrog those 2 schools. So again, and plus you get to go play that school down south. So, but anyway, we're going to step aside, and when we get back, more Pitchfork Lunch. And again, like I said, hopefully we'll be catching up shortly. Not hopefully, we should be catching up with Coach Reynolds here, Sun Devil defensive line coach here on Pitchfork Lunch. All right, we are back here on Pitchfork Lunch. What is up, my peeps? Again, I am Michael Caratuno at Diablo005_ on X, artist formerly known as Twitter. Yes, don't forget, unfortunately, my old account got hacked because you can't have nice things and people have to ruin an account. I had so much stuff from the show. It was really all I really cared about, but didn't click on anything and still got hacked. So anyway, but at Diablo005, got to keep the Diablos and the _ on X. Go to my IG as well, Michael.Caratuno.5, the YouTube channel at M as in Michael, V as in Victory Season Champ 005. You can watch the show live there, all those avenues, plus subscribe to YouTube, because for those of you that are here, you're going to be stoked. I know you guys are stoked to see it in the comments, but we are talking now. We are going to talk to, and again, if you subscribe to YouTube, you can go back and watch this, but he's been kind enough to join our show before. See this man out and about, and again, he's just one heck of a coach, and like I said, I'd be scared to get in I'd be scared to get in trouble from him, even though it doesn't seem like it. But he is awesome to talk to, and we are going to catch up with. Wait, there we go. There he is. What's up, Coach Reynolds? How you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Mike?
Oh man, not day. The sun's shining. Got my workout in. Gotta keep up with everybody else. Got my workout in and enjoying this time, man. How was and again, I know better than to ask. I've done this long enough. How many players? But how was the recruiting trail last week, Coach?
Hey, the trail's the trail, man. Takes what it takes, and it is what it is. But found a few good men out there, so continue building this board. This board blows up and continues to build consistently. So it's going to be always exciting.
In this day and age, forget, and I know it's a big part of it, so I'm not saying forget, but what I'm about to ask you, portal and, NIL aside, like obviously I've always said, winning breeds success, when you get out on the recruiting trail. But when you're out there talking to players now, I guess what's the biggest difference? Because, you guys have won. I mean, you go to the Big 12 championship, you go to, the playoff, and then finish 8-5 and in the mix again to go back to the Big 12 championship year. But what's the energy like just from players? Yeah, but what's the energy like from their parents? Because obviously, parents got to love them winning programs walking through their door.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a part of a winner, man. Just like you said, winning breeds success. It's a lot different than when I first got here. Just the reception and walking into buildings and walking into programs and being received by parents. But it's a joy. It's good to be looked upon as as a football powerhouse. With the potential of doing great things. So really exciting being on the road. Like the way that coaches receive us on the road now, and just looking forward to continued success in doing that.
I was gonna say it's funny, and it on the road, like you said, or even in state, but I love it. Like I said, since Coach Dillingham's been here, how when you guys, any of you coaches hit an in-state school, it's we see the posts, you see everything, but it seems like the in-state coaches are a lot happier because they want to keep their guys here too, so makes it easier to come see them play.
Yeah, I mean, we love that that in-state guys, man. We'd love to pile a few more on. We have some success on the portal, heck, retrieving some of those guys and bringing them back home. And I can't wait to see guys like Swanson, getting back on the field and doing their things. Guys like Markel Gardner coming back doing their thing. Hopefully, some of these guys that are leaving state or the ones that are deciding to stay. Hopefully they decide to stay more often, so they don't have to do it the second time around. Just do it the first.
Exactly. I mean, it's a good thing because I know Coach Dillingham has mentioned that, and I even think Coach Ward said it too. And I mean, Coach Carrington, I know, said it because you start recruiting these guys when they're younger, and it's like you build a relationship, and in the back of their head, as an athlete who maybe didn't get recruited like crazy, but got recruited, it's in the back of your head. It's like I start building a relationship with that coach. So if they do end up going somewhere else, we're like, well, if not, I can end up here, which again, we've exhausted that, but
yeah,
even the local kids here, like you said, that is awesome. All right, so spring ball came to an end, and there's a new faces. I'm talking about them here on the show, and people asking me like, what do you think? What do you think? And they know I get excited about defense, as you do too, because like I've told you, I'm one of the few that I'm down for a 17-14 game or a 13-10 game to be the team of the year, as long as the defense is dominating, you come out on top. But I mean, with spring ball, I mean, the transfer portal, but man, the guys that moved on. What was spring ball like for you? I mean, yeah, let them know, because I was telling them, people were like, no, but I mean, you're with them, but I mean, these new guys that came in. I mean, I know Jalen Thomas and what was it, Amarion Winston, like they came in like. Man, I mean, there's quite a few, but you get Clayton back. Well, for the second half of the spring, you get obviously CJ, leader back. But man, what are these new guys like? And I mean, I talked about it on the show. I played your sound about Julian Hugo. I mean, a freshman. But man, what'd you just think of the new guys, how they meshed, and these freshmen that like you said, their paws are bigger. They're going to grow into them. But man, what did spring look like for you?
No, it was exciting, man. It's always exciting to bring in a new group and see what elements and different pieces that they bring to the room. The room's definitely a little bit different this year. We had a little bit more rah-rah last year.
Right.
It was a little bit different, but these guys bring a really serious approach to the room. I think they were really just coming from different programs and different places. They were more concerned about, getting it right, trying to learn the playbook. So everybody's just trying to get up to speed. And, I mean, I like the hunger that this room brings. I mean, the thirst for football knowledge and, some of the stuff that they already bring to the table, just having, a bunch of snaps under their belt already. I think that means a lot. And I think the learning curve is a whole lot faster for those guys, which is great. But, they did a good job of, playing off each other, working with each other. You can see them, early before we got a chance to get on the field with them, for them to get on the field themselves and do a lot of things together. I mean, I think that helped the group really mesh really early.
When you talk about that, I know because I've asked all you coaches last year, like when you're in high school and you obviously put the work in. I mean, people say, you guys aren't just, recruiting every single high school player, but to come in early, obviously, and be part of that first spring ball is, a freshman. Like I said, it is, whether they want to admit it or not, they can play it cool. But I still got to think there's a lot of deer in headlights. You get to a college campus, and all of a sudden you're in a college position room, overall team room, but then position room, breaking it down. But what I mean, how do you feel about that? Because like these kids, again, not saying that they wouldn't be working out, but maybe enjoying prom, like, the reward for themselves, but just to come out and, like you said, get that work in. How much growth do you usually see? Because, yeah, I mean, if they come in the fall, everybody gets it. You're definitely going to be a lot behind baseball because, well, I shouldn't say fall. You come in the summer, but then when they start working with you guys, what's the, I mean, when you see that, like, how much does that really help their development? But as part of you as a parent, be like, you kind of want the kid to enjoy, their last semester of high school.
I mean, you got it's a little bit of mixed emotions there. You me have my own kids as well. I'm holding on them a little tight. Don't want to let them go. But at the end of the day, I mean, every kid kind of grows at his own rate. And when you're ready, I mean, you're just ready. I think for some of the kids coming out early, they're ready to do that. Physically and mentally, maturity wise too. But we do allow those kids, if they have a chance to go back and do their prom, and still be able to do spring ball, we allow them to do that too, because you only get a small one opportunity to do those things in life, and we want them to still be kids and do those things as well. But I think it's helped, like a Julian Hugo, being able to come in and contribute and learn so fast, and just his learning curve and the way he has embraced this situation, football wise. You love to see that type of growth that fast.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I mean, I remember when I was in high school, just a few years before this, but no, when I was in high school, I mean, when we saw people do it, even friends that friends like out of state, whether who I knew and looking, but like the numbers that would go, I mean, you saw some people do it, but it just wasn't one of those things where, a lot like took that first spring ball on. And like you said, like the growth, I mean, I remember talking to, obviously, well, we'll get to that. Let's get to that. But talking to Keith Abney and just being like, that first spring, and even somebody like, CJ Fight, and like the guys that have done it and just came here, and it's like you see like what you're going to be going up against. So that first summer in the weight room is going to be an absolute blast. But speaking of, I mentioned Keith Abney, I want to like shift rows. I mean, obviously, the NFL draft was a nice thing. I mean, 4 guys drafted, and I was saying to CJ, because I had him on the show. He's always been gracious like you with his time, Coach. But I had him on the show. But CJ, I was saying, I thought all 4 of those, like the 4 that got taken, were definitely first rounders. And with how Shimon played and grew the last 2 years, I'm like, that's I get it. You get a free agent deal, and you get signed after the draft, and there's only 7 rounds. I understand, but I'm sorry, man. Like what Shimon did, like 2 years ago, we saw obviously a lot of the pass catching, and he was still blocking, being physical for Coach Mons, and you saw it too. But just when you're watching the draft, and you see Jordan go off the board, and then you see Max, because obviously the battles with the defensive line, Max go off the board. What was like draft night like for you? Just again, not that you coached them position wise, but you went up against them. You had a little conversations with the D line night conversation with Max. What was that like for you?
I mean, just as all the coaches, man, you love to see all our guys have success, and for me to look at other coaches and see what they put into their guys and see guys develop over here, man. You just be so proud for Coach Sog and the relationship that he has with Max, and you see with Coach Ward and the relationship he had with Jordan, man. When you see all that stuff grow, and you have an opportunity to kind of see those guys develop like that, man, it's really special. Coach Coop, man, it's really, really cool to see those guys have success, and just knowing the relationship that those coaches have with those players, man. And again, and it's really exciting to see us. You see our guys get a chance to spar against a guy like Max. I mean, heck, you sit up there, you're going against a guy every week, and lo and behold, he's a first rounder. I mean, that doesn't do anything but make you better week in and week out.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you that, because like you said, I mean, coach of the defensive line, obviously you're playing the chess match with, you're always working on your guys to overstate the obvious for everybody, the Pitchfork Lunch fans here. And I tell them, but like, you're working on form stuff to beat the offensive line. But for somebody that obviously didn't play in high school, went to junior college, has this big athletic body, and again, when you guys were doing individuals and you're looking at like those battles, the one-on-ones, but what did you see from Max? Yeah, I'm not saying give away his secrets to where he can be attacked, because you don't want to do that, Coach. And I know you wouldn't. But no, I mean, what did you just see from Max and his growth? Because, I mean, there are times, especially last season and even towards this past season, but even towards the end of, last season, that second half when you guys were on the run to the playoff, you guys are going hard at each other, which obviously are making each other better. But Max got, he got some guys' numbers last year, and he got beat too. But what did you just see in those one-on-ones, and just the growth from a kid that didn't play high school ball to, like you said, playing now for Coach Hines Ward's team in Pittsburgh, drafted in the first round?
Well, I mean, you see a kid like Max, which I think Coach Saga helped him be able to do. Don't get me wrong. He brought a lot to the table intangible wise, his length, patience with his hands, being able to recover athletically, all that stuff. Development with Coach Joe down in the weight room, and just continue to work on that. But the part that I think Coach Saga helped him find and hone in on is just the nastiness, being able to flip that switch when he needed to. And all of a sudden you saw on tape, this last year, he just started going after people. With a certain type of malice and a certain type of attitude. And, when he started putting that kind of stuff on tape, I think that's when he really started to turn heads.
Yeah, no, and I talked about that, but I always love to hear from your side perspective. And everybody wanted me to add, because I said I was working on having you on, so I got some messages, because I always talk about it, but, and teasing the guys. But you got a coach now that played a very, very, very dominant center for you guys in Leaf, coming back, working with the defensive line. And CJ kind of smiled. I'm like, yeah, CJ, I mean, you were a little bit younger, and I know you were always in contention for the strongest unit on the team, but Leaf did a little bit of beating you up a little bit too. So I go, you enjoy picking his brain? He goes, oh man, it is so just one of those things where, what's the offensive line when it's like, if it's, not so much with the center's palm, but like what they're looking to do. You see the alignment, like picking his brain. But yeah, I mean, obviously I know you're welcome to have an alum come back, but were you more making sure that he didn't just go hang out with Coach Saga and beef up the all line, and you wanted him with what's it been like working with Leaf though?
Leaf's totally converted. He's a defensive lineman right now, through and through. Okay, so we welcome to the dark side with open arms, and man, nice. he's kind of taking it by the horns, man. I love the way he jumped into it. He's bringing a great element to our side of the ball. Really good, perspective. He's going to be a great coach. He's really leaning into it. I think some of the stuff that we do on the defensive side, he's taken on, and he understands the flip side of it, obviously. But different blocking schemes, different pass pros, how guys are looking at things,
Right.
protection wise. He's bringing a lot of that to the table. He's making our room better.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And speaking of physicality, I'll weave back to the draft for a second. I shot a message to Coach Coop about it's very fitting how Keyshawn, again, a kid who he said, is grown, obviously, transferred, but he led his team and he was leading his team in tackles. He transfers here, but just puts on his helmet and goes to work and gets drafted by the Monsters of the Midway. And the second thing to that, Keith Abney, the physicality he brought, and like you said, Coach always talked about being a Barrett, an honors college student, obviously very bright, but the physicality that he, like you talk about, getting bigger, grew into year after year. Man, I think a coach, I'm not saying other coaches aren't, Coach, but I think Dan Campbell and that system, that's a perfect, just perfect coach for Keith, I think. What do you think of those two? Like, again, Keyshawn ended up in Chicago, and obviously, just a defensive, I know they got to score points, but just a defensive overall historically conference, and those two now got to battle each other. But, those are great fits for them. They're great fits for them.
Yeah, I think that's, shoot, for Keyshawn to get a chance to go play the Monsters or the Midway and get a chance to walk in the shoes of Mike Singletary or things like that. Just put that in perspective. That's something to behold. And I definitely wish him the best. He's going to add a lot of that organization in a lot of different ways. Yep. And I know he's going to bring that type of mindset and heart that Coach Singletary, brought when he was a player too. And being able to study the game, the way he did, and they ought to have high expectations for him, because I know we do, and I know he has for himself, man. He's gonna go out there and represent himself and his family and his organization very well. I'm looking forward to that. And Keith Abney, again, being up there in that Midwest, he's gonna bring a lot of that program too. Out there, on that nickel and being able to read those offenses and whatnot, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table as well, especially the physicality that he brings and the mindset, man. It's gonna be great. I hope they blitz him.
Oh, I was just about to say to you, I know he definitely has no problem putting the honey in the ear of the defensive court, like Coach Ward. I sent out those blitz because I would tease him last year. I said, man, come on, man, when are you gonna blitz a little more? You gotta give it. He's like,
no doubt.
We gotta take our turns. We gotta take. He was good about it, but that's like you said, it's exciting when you see that. Let me ask you this. Obviously, I know it is one game at a time, but since spring ball, a little bit of a break, but man, getting to go play in London week 3, man, after A&M representing the Big 12, obviously, ASU and Kansas getting to go. Obviously, I know you're excited. Is the family excited for that? Now, is the family coming with you a little bit? I know the girls will be in school, but who cares? Like, I take that back. I rephrase, Coach. I know you do care, but I'm like, that's the kind of a trip. I know you got to work, but that might be a little fun trip for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun trip for them. I've been blessed. I've had the opportunity to go over there with NFL a couple of times. It's a really good trip, man. It's a really good trip for the families. Definitely looking forward. There's not much that's going to teach in school about history other than going to see it. So I'm fine with pulling them out of school to be able to do that. But that's going to be a great opportunity. The main thing is the main thing. Let's go win that game. But hope the family has an opportunity to go, take in some historical sites and be able to enjoy the lay of the land.
I know, and it can be even crazier over there because obviously the World Cup this summer here in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. If England were to win, since my dad's, my family's Italian team can't qualify, obviously you're rooting for the U.S., but if England were to win, it'd be fresh off that too. It'll be even more electric and buzzing over there, as you could imagine, Coach.
Yeah, no, it will be. That type of football is the biggest thing over there. So, but we're gonna continue to throw ours out there and make this thing go global.
Yeah, no, that's again, like I said, it's always it's a great experience. I mean, it's awesome that obviously you have the bye week right after that. It's crazy that, and because people have been messaging me like, wait, they're going to A&M and then are they flying back and then flying out? I go, no. I learned. They're literally basically leaving. They're going over to Houston and they're going to leave from Houston. But I said, man, I go, well, that's when the equipment staff, not that they don't earn it, but they're really going to be earning their check with going to A&M and then taking off to London. Coach, let me ask you this too. When you look at obviously last year, like you said, this team, had to deal with some stuff and injuries. Still 8-5, and I know the bowl game was a shootout back and forth. I mean, people were very excited. What are some of the me, I'm not going to say one thing is better, but what are a few of the biggest growth things that you saw from this team in general? And from the team in general, and just like you guys as a coaching staff and, dealing with, because I know the first year when they were here, I mean, the 3-9, they had to deal with a ton of injuries. Last year it was kind of like almost like if somebody's getting healthy, somebody was coming back, and everybody plays banged up, as we know. But what did you just see growth wise from this team and from the players and like you guys as coaches in your second season with them?
Well, I mean, just the whole next man up mentality. The first year, my first year here, we had a lot of good luck and good health. We had a bunch of good guys that were playing hard and continue to work through the season to find their identity, and we grew into this thing, and we end up winning it all in the Big 12, and end up having the opportunity to go play in the towards the championship game. But this year just wasn't so lucky, man. This game is you have a small window to do some great things, and we just weren't lucky enough to have the good help that we had last year. It just is what it is. But what I did appreciate about this team is the resiliency of it. Nobody cowered, nobody backed down. Everybody fought together, and it was our team. And it was going to be what it was going to be, but everybody fought and they stayed together. And again, they rallied around a quarterback, when we had a change there, and we just went on and just continued to win ball games.
Yeah.
And and our guys did it at a high level, and they supported each other, and that was just about the base of it. And if you got to have that kind of resilience, you can do anything. And I think this is going to bleed into this year. That new faces. I think we got 44 new players.
Yeah.
And guys are going to fight it out, and we're going to bring this team together, and we're going to throw it all out there. And God willing, we have good health. We'll have another good showing this year.
Well, you talk about resilience and good health. So I know I mentioned earlier, but Clayton, because Coach Hines Ward had a very funny thing when they found out that Clayton could come back, and he was training and doing stuff because getting ready for the draft, possibly seeing if he could come back. But he goes, I got a project for you, and he goes, I said, absolutely, boss, no problem. And he kind of chuckled and laughed, but he said, because he goes, of course, Clayton always, he'll let everybody know. Go look at my high school recruiting tape. I can play receiver. But the fact that he did that, he went over to, the receiver room, kidding aside, how big is that to have somebody, like him, like that on the team to be able to do that? And I know, like you said, he's back on the defensive side now, but telling you that first, and I said it on the show, and I know I said it to you a few times, but not to repeat myself, but yeah, he picks up a fumble or has a strip, like it's a strip, and he picks it up and gets a touchdown. He'll be like, Coach, I got to get in the red zone. I need my offensive touchdown. But man, but his growth in general, like how do you feel that even helps him on the defensive side of the ball, just getting in? I mean, a little bit different, obviously, mindset, but getting in the receiver room and working with Hines Ward and the receivers this spring.
I thought it was a great experience for him, for a guy like Clayton to be such a freak athlete the way he is, to be able to even go over there over 250 pounds and run and transition like that and catch the ball in space. I mean, it's really incredible. And then, I thought it was good for him as well to see it from the offensive perspective, learn the game that way, verbiage-wise and otherwise, to be able to see how it translates, and to hear another coach speak and hear another coach, to go in there and sit in the room, with a great like Coach Ward, and be able to just kind of sit up on his wing and see the way he teaches and processes things. I mean, I think that only added to his growth.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I was He'd always say to me, you know, like I said, when first year when he sees me talking to, you know, Coach Regal around, he's like, man, tell Coach Regal, give me a fake. I can do it. I go, and it's like I said to you before, I go, man, if they're listening to me, I go, I'm not saying I don't know what I'm talking about, but if they're listening to me, you might be in trouble more than that. But when he finally got it, he's like, I told you, I was like, I never said I wasn't for it, Clayton. But yeah, it's like it's one of those things. Obviously, the more, you know, you can learn, you can do. But yeah, he said it was pretty funny because the receivers were asking him a lot about, you know, like if they're coming down to block, like, you know, reading like a D line. I'm like, you can't give them all your secrets, though.
Right.
You can't give them all your secrets. You know,
that's funny.
Oh no, go ahead.
But I think it gave him opportunity to, you know, just to know more guys on the team better. You know, that's going to give him more of a role, you know, leadership wise, to be able to talk and, you know, cheer the offense on, and, you know, just seeing those guys in a different light.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe he'll find somebody that'll actually go, because he'll protect him. Maybe he'll find somebody up at Camp T that'll go hunting for, go looking for snakes with him, because nobody ever wants to do it with him.
No doubt. Yeah, not many people want to do that with Clayton. So, yeah, check his bags. He might bring some snakes home with him from Camp T.
Yeah, he keeps saying, everybody keeps saying no, or they'll be at a distance. They're like, we can look out from a distance. We don't want to go. I'm like, man, he's not going to put you in jeopardy. No. You know, when you talk about family, obviously towards the end of spring ball, and I know, obviously it was tough for the player, and like you said, I mean, even the new players, because it was recruited by, but you know, Stephen Miller, former player, obviously played on that. I mean, his interviews were always the best, and I say that because, like, you know, offensive linemen, people say, oh, you know, they don't really say much. They just want to, you know, plow people down, which I'm sure you know is pretty true. But I mean, his interviews were always great, and then he comes back and he's coaching like quite a few guys here at his alma mater. And unfortunately he passes away. And I mean, it was sudden. And I know, obviously, which is a no brainer, practice was canceled that day, but what was your time, you know, like around him, and, you know, getting to know him? Obviously, I know you helped coach Saga, obviously, with the O-line, and then transition into, you know, strength and the strength program. But, man, what was it like? And just, I mean, the team, obviously, a lot of the guys knew him in long-time relationships. And, you know, everybody, you know, they came together. But, man, how just like, you know, your memories of him, but just, you know, and one thing I will say, because a lot of people said to me, you're never really prepared. There is no playbook whenever you when, you know, somebody happens to lose somebody. But what was your time like with him and you know, the team coming together? How just, you know, obviously it's very challenging, but how challenging, you know, was that news and the first, you know, few days, and obviously going forward, it's going to be tough going forward without him.
Yeah, I mean, that one hit me hard. I mean, it hit us all hard. Yeah, Steve's gonna be missed like a lot. He was a light on this team. Like, he was a real light on this team. And you know, in the off season, he worked with my guys a lot. And, you know, a lot of things that I couldn't do with him, you know, because of rules and regulations and whatnot, he could do with them. So he touched my group a lot. He knew how to get the best out of them. You know, different things that, you know, younger kids would struggle with. I mean, they would go to Steve, and Steve would help counsel them. And, you know, he was in and out my office all the time, trying to find ways to get us better. You know, different drills, different techniques, different things he wanted to try with them in the off season, movement wise. Yeah, man, he'll be missed, man. You know, just a little, you know, things that he'd do. He'd be back there playing quarterback for us when that one-on-one pass rush stuff, and goofing around, messing with the guys, and a lot of people wouldn't know it, but Steve was the biggest troll. You know, he would troll our guys so hard, you know, getting at them about certain things, you know, trying to make them buck up, trying to draw the best out of them.
Yeah.
Man, he was a big piece of what we do around here, and he'll definitely be missed.
You know, and it's funny you say that too, Coach, about you, like you said, you know, getting in the guys and stuff like that, because I would, you know, when he first came back and I was talking to him, I remember it was up at, you know, chatting with him a little bit up at Camp T, you know, oh, it's great you're back, you know, blah, 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 this and that. And I said, you were always quick, but look at you, man. I go, you're always tall, and, you know, but you slendered up. You could probably throw these defensive linemen around a little bit still. I was teasing them. But then one day, like, you know, going down the sidelines last season, I said to him, I go, you know, you coach, you know, the players up, you know, talk to the O-line. I go, man, which is great. I go, you always have that big smile on your face. I go, I don't know. Like I've told, like I kidded around with you saying you're a quiet yeller. So teams might not understand, like a player might not understand that you're actually yelling at them. I said, but I go, do they kind of look at you if you're kind of, I go, not that you like get all up in their face and like, rah, rah. I said, but I go, if you're trying to like dig in a point, I'm not saying they're not listening, but if they kind of like, wait, is he actually raising his voice to me? Like they got to be shocked because I go, you're always smiling, but you should be smiling. I said, but you're always smiling. And he looks at me, he goes, Michael, he goes, yeah, he goes, oh, they know. He goes, yeah, he goes, I thought about that too sometimes because the first few times I think some guys like they weren't like blowing me off or anything. He goes, but yeah, I think they were shocked for the fact that I was just kind of like more direct. I go, yeah, I would listen to you, but I would probably start laughing if I heard you raise your voice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always fun. It's always fun to see young coaches when they get in this league, and because everybody finds their voice. Everybody finds their way of reaching their players and reaching athletes, on their level, whatever level that they are. And I think he did a great job of doing that. He could relate to a lot of things that were going on with him. And he knew how to reach them. He knew how to be professional with it, and he knew how to get on their levels as well. So, I mean, those are things that you can't teach, and you kind of got to find your own path. And I think he did a great job of doing that.
That's what a very good coaching friend of mine that I've obviously got to work with broadcast-wise, but Coach Kirsting, who won numerous, obviously, junior college, junior college national titles and won a lot of Valley of the Sun Bowls. And, I mean, just coached for a long time. And he always said, he's like, when I go – and because I asked him that years ago, I go, what is one of the toughest things when not even saying it because it is a former players or not, but like – a young coach like getting in. I go, yeah, you're starting with a position, but I go, what's the challenge? He goes, like you just said, he goes, kind of, you see what other coaches do, and again, you're not going to exactly copy it, but like you said, to kind of find, your flow, and maybe you're, I hate saying lane because again, you can be abstract, but you're kind of flow in your voice. And he said that's one of the toughest things. And somebody like Steve who had that personality. I'm not saying it's easy, but it seemed it was pretty easy for him to kind of flow back and forth in between those, I guess, lines, I should say.
Yeah, he like I said, he did find it. He found it very easy. He knew how to troll them, but still go back to coach mode. I think Leaf is going to be. He's doing sort of the same vein. But he's finding his voice in a different way as well. But just like I said, watching those young coaches do that, they can reach places that we can't reach as coaches, as their position coaches. So
right.
They're so valuable, man. Being able to do that and have those kind of guys around you and in your room and in your organization, they're irreplaceable.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's always tough news. But like I said, and one thing I remember when my uncle said to me years ago, it's like, it is tough. And people say it's a celebration and, dealing with, just the sadness, he said, but the memories will always carry you. And like I said, the first thing I thought of is like the big smile I always saw when he said, hell, when he's talking to me saying hello. But okay, so we go from that. You know what? And the other side of that, somebody that's obviously big personality. How quiet has it been without Jacob around? I mean, I know the defensive lineman room is. You guys are obviously they're talking and they do have fun. I've seen him. You see him on the field, but man, it's got to be a few, and it's a bummer because I mean, Jacob was like you said. I mean, the comedy relief, like when the team needed it. But I mean, has it been a little bit quieter without Jacob around?
Yeah, we missed that presence. We missed that. Yeah. We missed that loudness, that boom, and that thunder coming down the hall when you knew Jacob was coming. Now we do miss that. So, we got a little bit of it back. We got a little bit of it back at the end of spring ball with bringing Clayton back over. But those two in the room at the same time stirring the pot. Justin Watley being gone. All those type of personalities that were not leaving the room is made it way different. So,
yeah, no, I was going to say, Justin, it was funny because I know every time somebody was being interviewed, if he was walking by, he'd be like, "Oh, it's CJ Fight! Look at CJ Fight!" Yeah. Or even a coach or anybody. It's like, again, like you said, you gotta love those kind of personalities. All right, let me get you out here on this again, Coach. Thanks so much for taking the time. We love when you come here on Pitchfork Lunch, but so what I know, obviously, still getting ready for the season of football. But what is I use the term off season lightly because I know technically in all sports, whatever level, there's seemingly no off season. But what does the summer look like? You get a little vacation. You and your family gonna take the kids anywhere? Are you guys gonna go anywhere? Or is it just kind of hang out here and see what happens?
Well, I got two that are doing the AAU basketball circuit.
Nice.
So, I'll spend a lot of time.
You got two. I thought it was just the one, but okay. See, look at that. Now you're
Yeah,
really.
I got my boy and my girl. My oldest boy, my second oldest son, and my only girl. So they're on that AAU circuit. So we double dipping in that. So we spend a lot of time in gyms. Mom spends a lot of time, flying back and forth doing stuff. So we miss each other a little bit. But first part of it, I'm gonna make sure I take care of Mama. So I'm gonna make sure I get some time with her, and make sure we can connect and reconnect before this crazy season kicks off. And then we're gonna find some time to go see my mom and my family, and go back to the Carolinas and get a chance to see them. And maybe we'll find a beach in there somewhere, spending with the kids. But other than that, just make sure I reconnect with the family before we run off into our crazy world.
Well, that's awesome, and I won't bug you or drive you crazy. Like I said, I did greatly appreciate your time, and hey, thanks for coming on here again. Everybody, like I said, they're like, we love our defensive coaches, but what is wrong with you? Why do you not want a lot of scoring? I said, I didn't say I didn't want it. I just said if the defense is dominating, I said let them dominate. It's college football. It's college football. It's almost impossible to get like a 17-13 game. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see some goose eggs at some point.
Will you what?
I'd love to see some goose eggs at some point.
Oh, Coach. All right. Yeah, I could keep you on here for another hour talking about that, but we're not going to. No, but look, hey, enjoy the like I said, enjoy the summer, and I'm sure maybe I'll see you out and about. But we'll definitely catch up when fall camp gets going. But hey, man, thanks again so much for coming on, Coach. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's the best. Look at that, Coach Reynolds coming on. That's a lot there. So we're going to step aside real quick. Went a little bit of overtime, but that's okay. We're going to step aside real quick, and when we get back, we're going to wrap up the show. Again, baseball, no game tomorrow. Softball going to play that school down south in Stillwater, as Oklahoma State's hosting. So, we'll wrap that up real quick and then talk about tomorrow's show. But we'll step aside real quick and wrap up Pitchfork Lunch on the other side. Before it's up to Coach Diron Reynolds for joining us here again, friend of the program. Hope you enjoyed that. Well, I'm not even saying hope. If you didn't enjoy that, I don't know what's wrong with you. You probably went to the school down south. All right, back here on Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratino at Diablo005 _ on X, formerly known as a Twitter. You can see us live here every day, Monday, Friday, 12 to 1, along with my IG at michael.caratinudo.5. You can check that out there. Also, the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube. You see my name, Michael Caratinudo, but you see my name, Michael Harrington, what my page is at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Champ, 005. All caps, by the way, MVC005, because for some reason, if you search it lowercase, I don't know. But you see my name, Michael Harrington, you'll see the Pitchfork Lunch. You'll see a lot of forks, obviously, there. But again, to the new subscribers, thank you. I forgot to say that before. Thank you to the new subscribers on YouTube. Also, but again, you've missed a lot. You just missed Coach Diron Reynolds. As the time goes, you ask some questions, but again, just talking to him, you got a little bit about the team. But it's season gets closer, we'll get more X's and O's. But yeah, there's, like I said, like Jalen Thompson, Mario Winston, on the outside, Clayton Smith goes backside at the end. Then you have a guy like Roman Petrie that's back. Obviously, CJ Feist back in the middle. It's like I said, there's new faces, but it's gonna be fun. And then obviously Vince Amy working with Coach Amy, another alum, Sun Devil. She's part of that Rose Bowl, 96 Rose Bowl team. So it's awesome to see him. See, I forgot to ask Coach Reynolds about that. But yeah, you know what? Again, either way, forks up to Coach Reynolds for coming on. But yes, guys, baseball, they are. Oh, the baseball standings now, by the way. Baseball standings, because we did softball before, and I just wanted to know where they finished up. Well, Kansas is now 20-4, which I think that means they swept their series. Oh, that was softball. Yes, they swept the team down south. So the team down south did nobody in Tempe a favor. Of course, why would they do anybody a favor? But, they can't. They lost 4-2, 7-2. Oh, no, sorry. They didn't sweep. They took 2 of 3. So they won 4-2 on Friday, 7-2 on Saturday, and then – oh, no. Yeah, no, they did sweep them. Yeah, so they won 4-2 on Friday, 7-2 on Saturday, and then they won 11-5 yesterday on Sunday. So that team down south, 7-17 now, second to last in the Big 12, as Houston is 4-20. But the Devils, who took who took 2 of 3. So again, series 1, they've only dropped 1 series, and that was to West Virginia. Yes, because ever since they took 2 of 3 from TCU, they took 2 of 3 from K-State, they took 1 of 3 from West Virginia. So yeah, they dropped 2 of 3. They took 2 of 3 from that team down south. They whooped them there. They were 3-2 against them this year, as they also split in the midweek games at Muni. 2 or 3 there, and then they took 2 or 3 from Utah, and then took 2 or 3 from BYU, and then swept Baylor, and then took 2 or 3 from UCF. So yeah, the crazy thing is they skipped Kansas this year, which I told you guys about, which you guys know. But yeah, so the Big 12 standings as of now, Kansas is 20-4. And let's see, who does Kansas have next? I can tell you who Kansas has next. They have, they take on Creighton in Omaha. Creighton's in Omaha, Nebraska, guys. And then, then they take on West Virginia in Lawrence, and then they're at BYU to close out the season. So let's see. West Virginia, where are they? Now, see, that's the crazy thing, because West Virginia is actually listed ahead of her. They're both 16-8. Oh, why are they? Because they won the series. They took 2 out of 3. Oh, man, that's tough. Well, yeah, you need them to lose. So if West Virginia can sweep Kansas this weekend, which, again, we got a little bit of time, just throwing this out. And you guys, I know you guys are smart. It's simple math. If West Virginia can sweep Kansas and the Devils can sweep Oklahoma State, okay, so if that happens, right? Yeah, if West Virginia sweeps them, West Virginia would be 19-8, and that would drop Kansas to 20-7. If the Devils if the Devils and West Virginia both sweep their series, they would both be at 19-8, but then West Virginia would have been ASU the favorite too, making Kansas 20-7. Then that last weekend, right? Kansas plays BYU, like I said, who is 12-12 in conference play. So we would be rooting because they would be 20-7 and then 19. Kansas would need to lose 2 out of 3. And then I don't know what the tiebreakers would be there. And then West Virginia, their last series, by the way, is against TCU, which TCU is 13-11 overall, or 13-11. Sorry, in the Big 12, but so is Cincinnati, along with them. But again, I'm not going to go through every team. I'm just saying, and I'll go through a little more in depth. What I'm saying is, so if Kansas gets swept this weekend by West Virginia, and that means that West Virginia would be 19-8, Kansas would be 20-7. The Devils, if they can sweep Oklahoma State, again, very tough, but feasible, they would also be 19-8, and then you have, and then so they go that last weekend where you definitely need West Virginia to lose 2 out of 3 and Kansas to lose 2 out of 3, and the Devils to take 2 out of 3. Because if Kansas would be 20-8, they both would be, or 19-8, and then they would be 18-8. They'd be 20-10, and then the Devils would be 21-9, and then so you need Kansas to lose 2 out of 3, which they would finish 21-9 as well. So it'd be interesting to see where the top. Well, right now, I mean, if you go by home record, Kansas 12-0 at home. The Devils are 8 in conference play, 8-4 away. They're both 8-4 away. Overall, obviously the Devils are 33-15. KU's 37-11, but the Devils are 22-7 at home. Kansas is 18-2. The Devils are 11-5 away. Kansas is 18-9. So, but again, tiebreaker wise, they both have the same road record, and home wise, Kansas has not lost a game at home in conference play. And they have. Well, now West Virginia is coming into Lawrence, so West Virginia would be the last chance to beat them. And like I said, if you're a Devil, root for West Virginia to sweep them, because then it gives us a very fair shot at the regular season Big 12 championship. And because we finished, see the Devils, though, and they better not overlook. Well, Willie, I'm saying. I meant to say, if you say they better not overlook it, they better not. But Coach Bloomquist would not let that happen. So my point is, because Houston is 4-20 right now, so they get to go to Houston to end the season. So they could, you win 6 in a row to close out, then you would be 22-8. So again, could happen. Well, conference games, because they also have they play Oklahoma State this weekend, the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then Tuesday they are at GCU. So, Tuesday they're at GCU. So that is that. And then softball, like I said, they're headed to Oklahoma Big 12 tournament to take on Stillwater. They play Arizona in the first round. So that's cool down south. Show them respect, but they need to whoop them. So anyway. But hey, that's going to do it for today. I'm going to get out of here again. Forks up. Thanks so much to Coach Diron Reynolds for coming on, defensive line coach. Again, always love, just picking his brain, talking about like players even out of practice, but having them on, giving you guys an insight of, these young guys and the freshmen came in, but there's a good mix. And plus CJ's back too, like I mentioned. So that's absolutely awesome. So, yes, forks up to Coach Reynolds for that. And then, I will see you. So, before we get out of here, though, again, thanks to reigning back-to-back Big 12 champs in women's volleyball. Saw Coach Van Neal out at tennis, too. Again, absolutely awesome. It is #OurState. Yes, school down south. That is for you to remember and always know. It is #OurState. And you guys know it. Go Devils. I will see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, with another guest. Aiming for another guest. Pauline Nellis. Yes, the phenomenal goalie. See what her plans are coming up, but going to aim for that. So again, Forks up to Coach Reynolds for coming on today. I will see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. And you guys know it. As always, go Devils. And of course, forks up.
I went to Arizona State. Right. I'm a Sun Devil, man.
The 27-yard line. That's a great call. Good play fake. Plummer will put it up. Throws over the middle. Cool. Touchdown. Quick flag.
3rd down and 5. 11 swings it to Scatterboom. Scatterboom breaks defenders. Here it goes again. Another. Scatterboom is the running back, and he is immediately met in the backfield, runs through the contact, and then throws a shoulder for good measure.
Revenge on this defense here. That is true. High in the air. Right center field. Brandon Compton. Welcome to 2025.
Edwards pulls off and buries a. Richardson drives out for Robbie Ryan. Hurt 3 right on the money.